Right. Ladies and gentlemen, did you vote? You didn't vote. That's not a question. I fucking know that you didn't. This isn't from like some different time or whatever. This isn't from like 2016. This is from right now, whenever now is. Derek and I kind of been drinking. But it's definitely like the middle of November in 2023. I can tell you that. And we're in America, I'm pretty positive. And so we had a local, like city council person, primary. No, not even a primary. It wasn't even that. But it was just local small city election type stuff that affects you and me. Now, I went to vote before work, and I went in a little bit late that day just because I felt like it. So it was like 9 in the morning or something. When you would expect that the early rush, maybe a little before 9 would be. I was the only person in there voting for my city council representative, Latricia Vita, who won, by the way. And she won last time when I voted for her. So I think she owes me a lot because I might have been the only person that showed up both times. I'm like, Latricia, I'm your voter.
Sure.
You have mentioned that you are aware that this podcast exists, which is terrifying to me, but also heartwarming. But yeah, I went in there and there was no one in there. But the better story is my buddy David Murder lives around the corner from the 3rd precinct that burned down during the whole George Floyd thing. Like he has a house on like something in Park. I won't be too specific to where he lives. He has like a nice old Victorian over there that he bought years ago. And he was right in the middle of it. He saw black pickup trucks with no license plates, like white guys getting out and harassing Somali women in the street in the middle of all that stuff. And he just stood out there like in Terminator 2 with his shotgun on his shoulder until the sun came up on his porch, just like waiting for something to go wrong. And a lot of stuff went wrong. And there's a lot of stories about that whole part of history in Minneapolis here. But he said that he went to vote for his city council person, and that he went at after work, 6 o'clock or so at night or something like that. And they were like, hey, congratulations. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you're the 100th person to vote today. And he was like, that's funny, but I got mad. So I'm like, all day. And people have been off work, whatever. It's like 6. It's not like 4, anything like that. 6 o'clock. 100 people voted for the person who probably has the most influence over your actual day-to-day lives, depending on who you are, than any president or whatever, because at this point, like the president, like if you get the wrong one, they'll like pack the Supreme Court with psychopaths and they'll do all this stuff. But then if you vote for the right people near you, like we do in Minnesota, it's like, oh yeah, like we had like an evil game show host, Jabba the Hutt president or whatever, and he packed the fucking Supreme Court with people that hate women and gays and stuff. But then we codified abortion rights and gay rights and stuff into our state's constitution, and then also everybody got weed. And you want to know why the fuck that is? It's because a bunch of people who probably aren't your lazy ass actually voted in all these elections. Like, that's how this shit actually works. Like, even if you're only voting for governor, you've slept through too much. You should be voting for like the person who gets to run for mayor in the party of your choice.
Well, it's wards in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, Ward 4 is where we are, over north over here. Once again, I live in, I would say like a pretty snazzy part, but I live in North Minneapolis because I wanted to be around more diversity and stuff. Doesn't that sound believable? Yeah, it's actually because I wanted to become a homeowner and I'm poor, and that's why everyone lives in North Minneapolis. But you know what? I've learned to love my neighbors. Yeah. I've learned to love my neighbors. I'm on my neighborhood board, and I've met our Ward 4 City Council person, Latricia. David is in Ward 3, famously next to that the police station that burned down. Like that was blocks from his house because he lives by. We used to walk to Chicago Lake Liquor. Before, after, and during band practice. It's at different times. And, man, lowest prices on, like, a thing of Kettle One vodka in the whole state, I swear to God. Like, that place, it had its own permanent cop in it. It was like one of those liquor stores. And it was like...
Is that place still there?
Chicago Lake survived. I do think so. Yeah, there's a lot of places that are just skeletons other former selves that are gone after all that stuff. But I think Chicago Lake Liquor, it had to have been a little bit like, in the first Batman with Jack Nicholson, and they go into the art museum or whatever, and they're wrecking all the art, and then the guy goes to there's a picture of this naked guy standing in between two sides of beef, and he's pulls out a knife, and the Joker stops him. He's like, wait a minute, I kind of like this one. And I feel like when they were going to burn down Chicago Lake Liquor, it was like, come on now. I kind of like this one. This is an institution. This has been supplying everyone with cheap hooch on the first of the month when your welfare check comes in.
We can't burn down the liquor store.
For God's sake, they probably take EBT illegally to not hanging them out to dry here or anything, but if they are, they're doing the Lord's work. If they're taking food stamps for liquor, and while that's just a fine cornerstone establishment, it means you don't have to rob someone for liquor money. It means it just comes from the state. Yes. If you buy a little baby food on the side, that's good too. Yeah. But you can also buy, Wild Turkey 101, or what you want to stretch. You want to stretch those EBT dollars when it comes to illegally. I'm not really accusing Chicago Lake Liquor of doing this. I'm just saying that I've been there a few times. Judging on whatever day of the month it's been, I've kind of felt like perhaps that's what was happening. Or I did used to live with someone who was a real bottom rung shyster, as I'm about a third rung shyster. And, he would get, I do believe he got some kind of food assistance, but he's also kind of working for this local booking agent guy who didn't want him drinking and smoking weed and whatever. And so he had access to the company card, but he would only let him buy food or real things with it or something.
Normal stuff.
So for a 100% markup, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to take the card and buy myself food and shit. And then I'm going to buy you, half of that worth of liquor and cigarettes and whatever you want. And I always call it the inconvenience charge. If you're willing to pay nearly 2.5 times the price of this bottle of malt liquor, I will help you launder either food stamp or business credit card money to make that happen.
We're in business.
Yeah. So it's I just got pennies on the dollar, just groceries for days and days and days, and I had my own money, and I was living in a place where the rent was $200 a month, because it was that was the only other time I've ever lived over north, was renting down in the 20s, and that was terrifying, but also fun.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, no one cared what I did down there. And you know what? Here's the point I'm trying to make. I didn't care what I did down there because I was just renting. But see, I'm a homeowner now, and I vote. I go and I vote in fucking everything. And I just have this unbelievable level of disdain. I get it when you just sit on your fat ass until the presidential election rolls around. You're like, well, we got two real shitty choices. That's your fault.
We've got to do something.
Yeah, go back in time and vote the other 100 times. All the worst people in the world don't want you to vote. And so when you go, good, I won't, that says something about you more than it says about them. Yes, I would love for the worst people in the world to get what they want. And hopefully nothing bad will happen to me, you say. And I get it if you're I'm not going to vote, and I'm going to vote for the third party in this presidential race. Maybe you should be able to do that only if you voted in all the other things. But why did you sit out of this one? Did you think that you didn't want to vote for the lesser of two evils for the head of the PTA? Is it really that fucking both of these choices are just terrible? Well, I got news for you. There's actually primaries for those too. You could just get out of your house and vote. And no one that listens to this podcast is underprivileged. I wish I had the ear of the depressed masses or whatever. But it's anyone that has 3 jobs and has to take the bus to all of them because they have 9 kids or whatever. They're the ones having trouble voting, and a lot of times they find a way. But none of them are listening to this podcast. You are. You're a fucking white guy that used to have a faux hawk that listened to SMB or Blue Felix, and you have time to vote, and you fucking don't. And I'm just going to point out, not that I hate you, but that I know that, and I hate that about you. Anyway, that concludes the 10-minute long, not taking a breath tirade of the opening of this podcast, because there was an election recently, and I actually liked the results in my local area, but I feel we're lucky, because over north, you have to get involved. Over south, everybody's still kind of like, this will probably get better on its own because it used to be better on its own. North is only ever better when someone fucking does something, and everyone kind of knows that now. So they're like, we better do something. I'm like, well, then
People are doing stuff, I think. I think it's
yeah.
you know, there's movement. There's movement, I'll say. At least in North. South kind of seems like it's going
South
shit.
has had it too good for too long. That's the fucking problem. They're
That's
new.
what it is.
They're what we call new poor, right? It's like the Always Sunny thing.
I mean, South has always been hard as shit, but
South's been up and
it's
down.
never been North.
North is its very own thing. Well, even the topography of North. It's fascinating. Like, it's harder to get from here to the city than it is to get from South. South just naturally flows into, like, the downtown area.
Right.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
Like, when you were picking me up and giving me rides to work, we had to, if you didn't want to take the freeway and we were just doing what we were doing, it was such a circuitous, fun and interesting, but like weird, awkward,
Going
industrial
through the
zone route and neighborhoods and no train tracks and fishing docks and just weird stuff, just all the live long way, passing the Hells Angels clubhouse and just all this terrifying stuff that says, should I even be driving down this road? And that's what you go through, you know, to get to the center of the labyrinth.
That's my weird, I don't want to fucking drive on the highway thing. It's just a weird thing.
Is your no highway thing weirder than just the fact that you drive like a monster truck, or is it predate that?
It like predates that. It definitely. I've always been a fuck the highway. It's too much. Maybe it's because I'm from a little town.
Maybe
my wife is from a little town. Highway, no problem. Just
okay.
But
if you learn to drive,
I would much rather. Maybe it's because I smoke weed in my car.
Maybe you got pulled over
all the
more.
way to work.
Maybe
all the way home.
I think you do get pulled over more on the highway just in general. Which, holy shit, I'm gonna have to actually finally like think about again, because you realize that when you drive like a royal blue 10-year-old Toyota Prius, almost no matter what you do, no one's pulling you over because they know there's gonna be an old white math teacher driving it.
Yes.
When you drive the car, and I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to have it in a couple of weeks. I finally figured it out. It's not a Toyota. I know. It's not a fucking Tesla either. Shut up. But it's something that you won't even see coming. But it is the color. I showed Derek. I'm going to get pulled over in this thing more.
Let me just say, my truck is the exact same color, and only because it's a truck.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten pulled over. But our friend Kyle, shout out Kyle, referred to it when I got it as Arrest Me Red.
Arrest Me Red. Oh, mine's two-tone red and black.
So whether that's, you know, an old geese thing like, oh, you got a red car, you're going to get fucking pulled over.
Insurance rates used to be higher on red cars, but
really?
not on giant farm trucks, though.
Right.
On things that I'm going to be driving, yeah. And even though I do kind of wonder, I might not get it as bad as like, because let's just be honest, pulling people over, it's not a game of, they're not looking for like John Travolta greasers driving like how everybody thinks it is.
Agreed.
They're looking for people who aren't white, who are doing crimes. And like, like, so if you drive like this, I'm not saying, by the way, that this is good. I'm just saying that this is the way it is. If you're driving a Dodge Charger, no matter what color it is with tinted windows, they think they know who's driving that thing, and they're going to pull it over. And the funny thing is they're probably right. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying there might be a warrant and a bag of weed and a gun that maybe there's no paperwork for in that car. One of those things, maybe all three of those things, and you're going to get pulled over more. But you know, the real deep truth of the matter is, though, now all they do is scan plates. So realistically, like the kind of car you're driving, actually, I don't think it matters like it used to. But I mean, the way I used to drive, I've driven a couple of Priuses in my time, and they do go. If you don't care about the gas mileage, you can go. And I like that about them. They have two fucking drivetrains. I mean, how slow do you think it actually is? People just drive them slow because old people buy them, you know, but like you can drive it like an idiot if you want to. And I'm an idiot, so I do. And like, you can do that right in front of a cop, and they're just kind of like, this person, whoever's driving this, has a lawyer. And not because they're rich, just because they're old. Like, they just do. And they don't have any warrants out for, like, domestics, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be, It's going to be like a 90-year-old lady that's on the city council board that's just kind of like, oh, Officer Peterson, I've heard about you. And then like, oh, God. Like, that's what, instead of like, oh, cool, I interrupted this rap video or whatever the cops think they're fucking doing. Again, I'm saying things that are funny because they're true, but not because I think it's like good that it's true. It's just like,
I mean, this stuff happens.
Hey,
this
the
stuff happens.
cops are a little racist if you didn't know. And John's just sort of pointing out in the ways in which that manifest.
Yeah.
And that sometimes, to me, though the consequences could be dire, it's a little funny in a way. And, we all live in this nightmare together. And if you can't laugh at it, you're one of those awful people on Twitter that probably is not listening to this. Yeah. I'm not real concerned.
I hope not.
I hope so. I can't wait to get canceled. I've tried so hard.
I mean, I know a few ways we could get canceled.
I don't think I'm important enough. Like, I think I'd probably get, like, arrested by the FBI before whatever I came up with got me, like, canceled. You know what I mean? I'd have to go,
doubt.
Here's what I'm going to do. And they're like, okay, John, cool. You got fired from your job, and you definitely ended up in prison, but you don't have enough people paying attention to you to go like, oh, well, he's never allowed in a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's not happening. And I wasn't going to be in one anyway. As much as I'm dressed a little bit like Judge Doom from Roger Rabbit. That wasn't Disney, though. What was that? Is that a Warner Brothers thing?
Roger Rabbit?
I think Mickey Mouse was in it, but I think they made those deals. It was a lot more Warner Brothers-y.
Yeah.
God, who made that? Who made Roger Rabbit?
God, that was a great movie.
Yeah, it holds up. It holds up as a real piece of weird shit. Like, it still looks... Whatever it was that they were doing still looks good because there's nothing else to compare it to. It's just like, well, we decided to have... Bob Hoskins and like in the 40s. He has like a cartoon revolver and all the bullets are like cowboys.
What a weird movie.
You feeling frisky, boys? Yeah, just shooting at Christopher Lloyd's the villain in that. We were just talking about when he was a Klingon in Star Trek.
Yes. Search for
Spock or whatever. Yeah, he's the one where they're like going around shooting old satellites, like more targets. Like, and he's just this weird, ruthless Klingon guy, which is so weird. Because I made an AI picture of Terry Crews as like a Klingon warlord, and it's just like, God damn, who slept on that casting?
Yeah, no doubt.
Is he too busy to be? They make all of these on like the Peacock or whatever the CBS streaming thing is. There's all those.
Also,
Picard
it's not too late.
No, it's not like they can't. But I mean, they need to get on it. He should be like a permanent, like the Terry Crews Klingon, like they should be he should be the president of like Klingon, so it's kind of like when he was President Camacho in Idiocracy. He won't act like that, but it'll be like a nod, it's like, hey, he's been the president before. You remember that movie? Right, that was funny or whatever, but it's like he's also like the Klingon emperor or something like that.
I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Driving it, and you can even steal Easter eggs from Idiocracy, because he had the presidential motorcade. He just had like a giant monster truck motorcycle thing. He was just like, they could do that on the Klingon planet. They're having like a military parade, and he's just on this like Mad Max 18-wheel motorcycle thing, just kind of like, and it's like, oh, that's kind of like, because one of my favorite things, I'm a Tarantino fan and everything, and an old movie fan, and in Kill Bill 2...
Working on the 10th film right now.
I'm interested to see what that's going to be. It might be a little bit meta and heady for my liking, but...
I hope not.
I hope not. I hope it's just insane. That is what we all want. But in Kill Bill 2, and Bill was played by David Carradine, and... David Carradine in 1975 was in a movie called Death Race 2000.
Ah, yes.
And he played a character called Frankenstein.
Yes.
And my old band SMB, actually, there's a bunch of samples in our songs of dialogue from Frankenstein from that movie. It's just like, why do you love me? Because I kill people. It's perfect metal band. Fucking like you only want me because I drive the monster and wear the suit. And it's just fucking amazing. And he's driving this God, I don't remember, it was some kind of Camaro or something, but he had this kind of like convertible 70s. They did, and I didn't care about that because like Statham is awesome, but like Sylvester Stallone.
The original though.
Stallone was in Death Race 2000 before he was famous,
right?
Way before Rocky. He was like Machine Gun Tommy. He was like an Italian stereotype, and there was just the Nazi car. They didn't redo that one. There was like this guy, and then like this bosomed Brunhilde lady, just with a giant swastikas on it, and there was a fucking a little Easter egg there too, because they were like hailing from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and everyone's like, oh, they just
Kenosha.
There's a giant, to this day, skinhead population in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It is a big white supremacy town. So that movie was making
shame on you, Kenosha.
I know. I have a story. My old man witnessed that firsthand a real weird way once, and then I looked into it and I'm like, oh, it's really true. And then in Death Race 2000, I went back and rewatched it, and they're like, from Kenosha, Wisconsin, the fucking Nazi car. I'm like, they knew. They knew back then. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, that's one Easter egg. But then the other one is...
I'm going to read about that tonight.
Oh, boy.
That's funny.
Milwaukee's pretty bad, but the concentration was... I mean, it's a whole thing. And I'll tell you... Actually, I'll tell the story after this, because I think it's a fun story to tell on the podcast. I think I never have. So, in Kill Bill 2... That's also David Carradine as Bill. Mm-hmm. He was also Frankenstein in Death Race 2000. In Death Race 2000, in Kung Fu. Death Race 2000, he drove this 70s sports car that was painted green with spikes on it. It looked like a lizard car or something like that. But it was a real car underneath, that you could find. And just for 30 seconds, when he goes to visit Bud, his brother, in the trailer, he's like, you pawned a Hattori Hanzo sword or whatever, before, when One Eye, gets him with the snake.
Yep.
He goes to talk to Bud. There's an establishing shot outside his trailer with a car, Bill's car parked out front, and it's his fucking car from Death Race 2000. Not with the dinosaur spikes. It's kind of gold yellow, I think. But it's that car. It is that exact car that they dressed up for Death Race. That's the attention to detail that Tarantino paid on that. And
big Easter egg.
Kind of don't exactly remember how I got to talking about this, but just that in movies and stuff or in whatever, that I love that. I love when it's oh, look, we actually remembered that this happened in this thing. And there's people listening to this who are like, you drunk idiot. You were just talking about whatever. But I think I made my point. But more importantly, the Kenosha, Wisconsin skinhead thing. I need to tell you about that, and I think I need to tell the listeners.
I need to hear about Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Okay, so...
yes. Tell me about Kenosha.
Back when I was in Screaming Monkey Boner / Mechanical Brain, we were touring around, post the Mindless Self-Indulgence tour, so we had some clout.
About, what years are we talking?
The MSI tour was, 2005, so this is probably, 6 or 7. This would have been the aftermath of us... Because we played with them in Milwaukee, and we played with them, so we're going back to these areas because we just played in front of 2,000 people that bought hundreds of T-shirts and CDs. We're okay, but we're where do we play? Because there's the big places, but we're not plugged into these towns, so we'd hook up with a lot of local bands. Now, luckily in this area, the Milwaukee, Kenosha, the Wisconsin area, there was a band that. Oh, I think one of them was called Hired Geeks. It was an actual Thompson reference, but that might have been them. And I feel bad because I think people from those times and places listen to this sometimes, and I have been seriously drinking today.
Shout out to you guys.
Yeah, but there was a group that was a little bit more proactive, so they would do compilation CDs of other weird bands like SMB and Foxy Shazam and Psycho Stick, and MSI was too big by then, but stuff like that. Dog Fashion Disco, things that were from all over that were weird. There's Hammond organs and blast beats and whatever, just the crazy the genre that we kind of sort of belonged to back then. If you know, you know. If not, don't look it up.
Right.
But whatever. But
I'll spend a Friday night. You might.
Yeah, you might find some stuff. But we kind of, so we were a little bit hooked up there because we were on this compilation CD. We met bands from around there and whatever. And we were going to play at some kind of venue there, an actual venue. And, God, I want to say that we're playing with was it Leftover Crack or something? There was kind of a real crust punk band that people have heard of. Crust punk that people have heard of, but at least in the Hard Times has probably made fun of them. We were playing with something like that, and they were these guys just got done drinking gasoline, they were out of it. And anyway, it was going to be this all ages show, and because we had done the MSI thing, and because the area band was proactive about putting out compilation CDs of all they're trying to build a scene, in the Midwest.
Yeah.
There was 150 pink mohawk kids and hot girls and stuff in line. And we're okay, this is going to be one of these good ones. And it was a place probably not even as big as a Triple Rock, so it was going to be a ride in there. Fun. Good. And at the last second, the bar owner or somebody was this early all ages show isn't happening. It has to be 21 plus. And there's kids in line. And apparently they'd been able to do things there before, and some Coon Rapids style bullshit, something happened. And then, like, not one of those kids was over 21. I don't even know if anyone, I probably shouldn't even have said the hot chick thing. I don't know if anyone was even 18. They were just, like, hot topic kids that were ready to rage and, like, waste their parents' money on our t-shirts and stuff.
A lot of teenage angst going on.
Yeah, and that was our moment in the sun.
Hey, man.
And, like, and they all just had to go. Like, well, we can still have the show. And there's like 3 weirdos, like kind of fat dudes in Psycho Stick shirts, kind of like left. It's like, okay. Like, they'd probably be at a Blue Felix show later. Now this went from exciting to sad. And it's like, bye-bye money. Cool. Like, see you kids later. But then they were like, hang on, guys, don't go anywhere. Let's just move. Let's say, fuck this venue. We like loaded our stuff back out. And we're like, they were like, we can hook up a house party. And I'm like, I'm not above that. Let's do it. And the kids are like, we can all come. Like, yeah, like, that's fine. I'm like,
yes, you can.
This is weird.
Tell your moms.
Well, so we go to play this house party, and the one stipulation is there's going to be this, like, other band on the bill. And it's the guys that, like, it's a party house. And they're in a metal band.
Makes sense.
They're these big, fat guys with beards.
It's got to be a price.
And it doesn't even, I don't even really care. So I'm like, okay, well, we're playing in, like my basement is, like, closer to... I could set this up into a real venue way better than what we were dealing with. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because there's room back behind this curtain, and there's the bar over there. Like, honestly, if we had one drum set everyone shared and some amps back behind this, we're like, all right. It's like, there could be, like, 40 people down here and just be like, okay, you can drink over there, and you can, we got the couch out here and everything. Yeah. Like, you could do it. Better than where we were. It was more like if the show happened there and only in there.
Right.
And people were like leaning in through the door, and it's like, we were selling t-shirts and stuff because the kids wanted, they saw us play with MSI. They're like,
reference for the people, that's like 8x8 right there.
Yeah, it's just got the exercise machines and stuff in there, and like
storage.
Yeah. And like, so it was very... It worked, and it was whatever. And they were like, well, don't load your stuff in. Just, like, use the drum set that's sitting here. We had a lot of specialized shit, but we were like, oh, who cares? Fine. We were using their amps and stuff, and, like, I think we blew one of their amps, and, like, I was like, oh, God. And they had, like, a lot of Iron Maiden posters and things, and it's like, okay. Like, there's these, like, kind of just these, like, weird throwbacky metal and, like, punk bands I didn't exactly recognize. We'll get back to that in a second, like, hanging up on the walls. Anyway, we get done, and we're like, okay, cool, like, that kind of worked, at least. It went better than it would have been playing at the bar venue to nobody. Not as cool as playing at it, because it had, like, a real sound system and stage to, like, 150 Hot Topic kids that were, like, only there to see us. But I go walking outside, and I see one of the guys that lives there. And it's hot down there. It's a hot, muggy night outside. And as we're passing in the night, he's just, as you do, fat metal guy, it's getting later, a couple of bands have played, he, like, takes his shirt off. And he has a lot of tattoos. One of them was a bird. A big bird, made of metal.
What was it holding on to?
It was holding what, could have been a Native American symbol,
Maybe if it was, like, in a mirror?
Yeah! It wasn't, though. So maybe he got it done in a mirror and he had made a mistake. I don't think that's what happened. And it wasn't alone.
My God.
No. There was that thing that looks like a crosshairs, and there was oh, boy. And there was a lot. And one of the other guys walked by, and they were talking, and, like, he had some ones, too. They were a little bit more specific. There was writing. I'm not going to say what it said. But anyway, like, I'm like going like, dude, I'm like 26 or whatever. Like, I'm like, do. And I just started like walking backwards. I'm like, we have to leave. We have to go right now. We just played at a skinhead fucking thrash punk metal guy house.
Time to go.
And like, on the way out, I'd kind of like, luckily we'd kind of borrowed equipment. And I was like, I don't think they noticed we broke anything yet. But we were like, getting out of there, and like we were trying to leave, and kids were having us like sign CDs, and one of the guys comes over like, oh, well, hey, you're doing a little business. Their band was called Pissed Officer. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. Some weird Nazi punk thing. Funny. And they're like, I was like, it's kind of like, I think I kept I kept one of their patches because, if you're actually in World War II, you get to take some stuff home. And it's like a pissed officer patch. I'm like, I know what this is from. I'm not proud of it, but it's in a box somewhere where I'm like, this is just part of the nightmare I lived through.
Yep.
There's worse things than that hidden around here. But from worse parts of the world, although honestly, some of not much. But he was like, we got CDs and shirts. He's like scaring these kids with their just like Iron Eagle fucking swastika tattoos and stuff.
We have
just
school
like
tomorrow.
American History X. And I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, kind of like, what do I do? Because I'm like, even at 26, it's like I was hot-headed back then, much hot-headed hotter-headed, yeah. And I don't love that stuff. I'll tell you that right now. But my self-preservation was still it's excellent now. It was still pretty okay back then, where I'm like, don't fight this cop, just go, yes, sir, and then disappear when he's not looking.
Yes.
That's what you do. You don't go, fuck you. You go, absolutely, absolutely. He's like, no, I'm going to go over here and look for your friends. And I'm like, I'll be right here. Like that. You don't go like, well, you go, fuck yourself. Bad idea. Yeah. And so I'm dealing with a 300-pound fucking white supremacist skinhead guys, and this is their place. So I'm like, yeah. Like, we're just selling. So you guys aren't leaving, are you? I'm like, no. But we got to like get our shit together, and like we got a couple kids bought shirts. It's a big, everything's a mess. It's a change of plans last second. I'm being cordial. I'm like, yeah. We gotta like. All right, yeah. You and me, we gotta fucking stick together. I'm like, oh God, he's touching me, and like,
he's passing his.
Like we're just gonna get it all like locked up into our trailer and all good because how it can I even was like how it can be sometimes. He's like, yeah, you gotta watch out for. I don't want to hear who. But so like, and then like, but then our bass player who was like, to this day a problem. Honestly, it's like he's one of those guys where. Old bass player. Sometimes when they stop drinking, it turns out it wasn't the booze. Yeah, he was just a problem. But he kind of started like, he has a real, and to his credit, he has a real Indiana Jones opinion of those kind of guys, and I appreciate that. So do I, really. But he was like, and I'm like, I like had him by the back of the shirt. I'm like, no, we're gonna just not fucking pick it. Like I didn't have like.
Where he's like Jones and the other guy is the huge dude with the turban and the sword.
Or the guy from the plane.
Pulls out the gun and shoots him.
Yeah, but we didn't have guns back then. And out of everybody who was ever in that band, I think David does. But like I'm the only guy whenever you see me anywhere, I might actually have one in the spot you'd expect and a smaller one in my ankle. Like I'm like that guy now. And like I was not even a little bit that I was too poor. Guns are expensive. Yeah. And like I also I think
bullets are expensive.
All of it. And like I wasn't into it anyway either. I mean, it was my grandpa had guns and I was like kind of fascinated and I liked RoboCop but I wasn't like I don't know if I should have a gun.
You're not trying to carry around a gun.
And now like this house is made of guns now. Like don't lean on a wall too hard, a gun will come out of it. But not the case. And also, we're not, like, I was the biggest guy in that band by a margin. So it's like, don't go picking fights with these dudes. Like, one of them is bigger than the four of us. So, like, we get in and we get, like, the other two guys hadn't noticed all this stuff. And I was just kind of like, they were like, oh, we're going? I'm like, we got to get out of here. And then I, like, basically... It was fresh. I like recapped the story. They're like, Jesus Christ, Kelly, we should go back there. I'm like, you shut up. Like we have to leave, and we're never gonna. I should have left him there. Hindsight's 2020, my friend. But yeah, and then later I was just like, oh, Kenosha, and like, but that was the thing. There was a lot of like, there was the kids from the show. But then there was like sort of like the slightly older nose ring girls that were there that were probably 21 and everything, and. I should probably do my best to assume one of them was, at least for the purpose of the story, because we were there for a while. But anyway, that probably wasn't wise, whatever I'm alluding to. Who knows? You can't prove anything. Because they didn't seem that weird about what they were seeing walking around. And I'm like, God. Yeah. Fairuza Balk was hot in American History X, but don't stick your dick in that. That's not a good idea. And yeah, so like, and also probably was dating someone there who was like seconds away from finding out about that and was maybe going to kill whoever I was. So that whole thing, whoever that guy was who did that was me. And so but the cavalier nature, and everyone that suggested it was a well-known place, and even these people we knew were like, oh, we'll just have it here. They're like, no big deal. And I'm like, what the why is this so okay? And it turns out that that place is just filled with that shit. And they're to the point where a movie from 1975 where David Carradine is a guy with removable arms called Frankenstein driving a lizard car alluded to it, and people got the joke. That's how big of a deal it was.
Well, that rules.
Yeah, that's that story. I don't think I've told that story on here before. I've told it 1,000 times, but I don't think on here. But that's what I didn't even, remembering stuff like this is hard without a running start.
Right. I mean, we've got a good running start at this one.
Oh, we definitely did. Derek and I talked about voting and like the local biker gangs and work and stuff, boring stuff that it was like good that we didn't bother recording or whatever. But because I haven't Derek's been on the podcast once before. He blows glass for Minnesota Legit. I work for the larger sort of agency that surrounds that place, and X from Blue Felix obviously works at Par. If you know him at all, you know that he also does that. If you're on the internet and this is on the internet, it all makes sense. Yeah, I met Derek once starting work, and we're pals, so be on the podcast with me sometimes.
Yep.
And
now we're doing it.
Yep. And one of the things we kind of meant to get like more into was
the time.
My guitar player Owen, who was in the band at the time of that story, just texted me asking me if I was busy. And it's Sunday night. I know they
good. Give a call.
Well, no, I know for a fact that they do this karaoke thing in Richfield at Sandy's Tavern, which is like down the street from my parents' house where I used to like live when I was young. And he still lives somewhat adjacent to that area. And like Figgles' girlfriend, this means nothing to so many people, although some people listening, I think she runs the karaoke thing and he goes there all the time.
Okay.
And every once in a while, the timing is so...
It's a thing.
By this time on Sunday, if I'm not full of lorazepam, I'm full of booze. And I'm not driving to a karaoke bar either way. And
agreed.
It's just a little too far. I just recently discovered, and we were definitely talking about this, and we're definitely going to go there, that I don't live too far away from a place called the Camden Social, yes. Which is this bar on Lyndale that is just a spectacular thing.
Shout out Camden Social.
Shout out Camden Social. It's got like high end drinks, low end drinks if you want them. It's like nice in there. It's a black owned business that was helped into existence like not in a shady way, but just by. It was a bunch of other places that didn't work out for years, and these new owners came in and the city council person that I just voted for and who I like a lot helped kind of facilitate the steps to like, let's have like a cool black owned bar where you can like wear suits to it and stuff. Like the owner wears like a hat like that and shit and like greets people. And he's like, they're like the coolest people run it. And like being in there is like being in a movie. Like me and my friend, Ben, who I've mentioned on this podcast, who like helped me with like Prius stuff. We went to drink there the other day, and it was like being in like a cool movie. It was like there was like a female biker gang and like cool lesbians with like spiky white hair that like look like they run art shows, and like guys that look like Lil Wayne, and like dudes wearing like suits and fedoras and stuff. It was like a wild.
What more do you need?
Yeah, and just like. Their old fashions are like really good. Like it's like when you go to some places and you're like, I want a classic cocktail. They kind of have their own fucked up spin on it. Not here. I mean, they have house drinks and whatever, but it's like you can order like an old man drink and they'll knock it out of the park. It's great. And here's the other thing about it. I'm not going to like give away exactly where I live, but I figured out I can get there without ever going on even a half busy street. Like just a straight up neighborhood house stop sign crawl to the back parking lot where there is just, and we're over north, motherfucker. It's like if there's cops in that area, they're already dealing with something.
Yes.
Like maybe if you're getting on the highway or driving down that main drag of Lyndale that's kind of over there, it's like you might have a little bit of bad luck if your taillight's out and you're driving on the sidewalk. And it might be like, you're drunk, sir. But it's a straight up, like, you can sneak drive, like, 22-year-old idiot high and drunk drive home, safe and sound. Like, and it's like magic. And I was there the other day. I think, well, nope, I kind of forgot why I started talking about that. But I think that I was just going to circle back into the person that I regularly vote for helped make this whole thing I'm describing possible. Where it is like it's fancy, and I don't think anything shady does happen there, but I think it's like a nice place because I think that this is one of the things Derek and I were talking about earlier. It's that like the big dudes in suits, big black guys that are dressed like they're at Boardwalk Empire run that place, and there's just that magical little hint of I love this and this is cool and everyone's happy to see me and it's friendly, and I'll bet if someone gets out of line they're getting worked over with lead pipes behind the back.
Yeah, I mean at minimum. Like,
and so you know what? No one gets out of line, and we all have a real nice time.
Guess where you can go, and people guess where you can go where people behave and have a great time.
Yeah, you can. It's that beautiful sense of community.
Let's go.
That only the threat of very reasonably and calmly doled out violence can give you. Where you're like, no. They're like, everybody could be here. Nobody's got to worry about nothing because, yeah, you're gonna get your throw about and you open the door with his fucking head. Like, I just love, I love a mob run. Or a biker gang run like the machine shop in Flint, Michigan. You're in the safe. If you're being cool and reasonable, you're in the safest place in the world. Even though you're in Flint, Michigan, which is the most dangerous place in the world, except for the Gaza Strip right now. But I mean, other than that,
the water is good.
Flint, yeah, the water may still actually be like a little bit better in the Palestinian war zone or everybody. Like Flint's water is just black. Like
it lights on fire for real.
You can burn it. It's like, war is one thing, but capitalism is worse. It's like, and that's where Flint's fucking downfall comes from. It's just like, oh yeah, they don't. You know what they don't do in Flint? Vote in their local elections.
No,
however,
they sure don't.
there wouldn't be black flammable drinking water. Yeah, this episode's about voting. I guess
clearly it's about voting.
Yeah,
we've done it. We've talked about voting inadvertently
and advertently.
Inadvertently
and advertently.
I mean, I think we were gonna try to talk about the Camden Social.
We did.
So, we're there. We got there, right?
We got there, yeah. There. We mentioned that. We mentioned the machine shop in Flint, Michigan that's basically run by the Sons of Anarchy. And I was going to talk a little bit about how, when Derek was... Because I mentioned you because I had that whole solo podcast about my car issues and stuff and how you were kind enough to, pick me up on your way to work because you actually, live... Not only close to me, but in a place where I'm on the way there.
Literally on my way.
Yeah. Otherwise, because I have a hard time asking people for help, it's a problem. And I know you're happy to do it, but even I was still just like, well, I don't know, man, is it all right if it's just been built into me since I was a kid. But yeah, and that's where we only took, because we're talking about you not driving on the freeway, and we got a little sidetracked.
That's how I discovered Camden Social.
Yeah, and the these just crazy not even junk stores, but industrial junk stores, things where it's this building you can just go find I need a door for my house, or I need God knows what, but it's this building made of sheet metal, and the lights on either side of the door are two 1920s we can do it women's metal arms holding torches. They're made out of fucking steel on either side of it. It's just wild ass place, and it's just that side of you're in Minneapolis when you're on the river side of 94.
The businesses along the river.
The businesses along the river are just you can spend nuts. All day, and it feels scary and but it's cool. And there's again we're alluding to the Flint, Michigan, the Zink brothers and the biker gang running that place is why you're so safe there, because you're not safe within a block in any other direction. The Hells Angels clubhouse of the chapter, I guess, that must be in Minneapolis, is also over there.
Right there, yeah.
Depending on which way you take. You might drive by it. It's kind of nondescript, but you were just hey, look at that, like read the door real quick, and I'm like, oh shit. Like you wouldn't really be like wandering aimlessly, you just drive by it.
If you're not looking for it, you're not going to know what it is. It's just that.
I think I've seen it before, and I was like, oh, building.
You probably driven by it 100 times. It's, it's just a fenced off little area, but if you are looking that way, like, holy God, you're going to see the logo.
I just want to dress like Pee Wee Herman and go bang on their door and try to hang out with them.
Yes.
I'm trying to use the phone.
Oh, realistically, I wonder if anybody's ever done like.
But you're the 5th guy in the last 9 years to show up dressed like Pee Wee Herman. Here, we'll put tequila on the jukebox, go ahead and dance, and then get the fuck out of here, okay?
Some old lady, we got another one, boys.
We got another Pee Wee. You want to see him dance? Dude, actually, like, this is convincing me to try this, but I only think I should try it, like, right now. Which I shouldn't, because I'm drunk and we all have work tomorrow. But, hey, at least I can sleep it off in my office like fucking Don Draper now. But we're not going to get super into that. Yeah, we almost need to do, like, a... Because I know we talk about doing a mini documentary about glass blowing. Like, that was the whole point of the whole last thing that we did, which I don't even know if we're going to get there because we're 45 minutes. We're 5 minutes away from Dear Asshole. But I always want to do, like...
Next one.
Yeah, because, you do live, like, a few blocks away from me. So, like...
this is...
Oh, shit! I remember what I was going to say about the Camden Social. I saw Matt's car parked on the street because he lives down that same road.
Oh.
And me and Ben were like, oh yeah, another glassblower actually lives by me too, which is wild. And he has like this, got a stick shift Subaru like sedan, like not like you think of Subaru, it's always like a big car. You had to go to Colorado to get like a stick shift normal car Subaru. I've never even seen one of these fucking things, so it's recognizable. Yeah. I won't say what color it is or anything, so you can't go like looking for it. But like, I was like, oh my god, that's his car right there. And Ben's like, whose? And I'm like, okay, I gotta talk for like 11 minutes, I think, to make this make sense. But I'm like, yeah, this is the block he lives on that we had to like go this sneaky driving way to go to the bar and back to my house.
So there is a way down by his place because he lives
on this street.
On this street, right?
This street
on the other side of the street that I take a left to get here. He lives.
Yeah, that slightly bigger road. That goes, okay, so if you go to that slightly bigger road that goes to the highway, if you just keep going down where I live, down 3 or 4 blocks, like the block right before you would turn
you take it right,
to go onto the Cannon Tavern, like, but he's there. He's on this street just down.
Oh, man.
Like, literally, like, if like, he's another person where if I needed a ride to work, I would have been like, can you come up and grab me? But you're more like always showing up at about the same time. He can be kind of erratic, or he's like, "Oh, I'm going straight to like band practice afterward."
Yeah,
so it a lot going on. May not have quite made as much sense as much as we talk and stuff, and I get along with Matt. I saw his band play at the State Fair when me and Alexis and Chris and Nikki went.
Yep.
And the not the Raconteurs, that's Jack White sings, but still the Vagabonds. They're like known, if you listen to the Current and stuff, like you know what that is. They're very good.
Oh, yeah.
And
he plays with like 10 of those bands.
I know.
He's like a madman, dude.
Yeah, he told, I was sitting there with...
Shout out Matt Enzo.
Shout out to Matt. He was sitting there talking to, like, Wally was there, and I was sitting there, and he was like, yeah, I have like 40 1099s a year. I have to fill out or something from all the different, like, things he does. Like,
that's crazy.
Like, that is fucking a nightmare. Because, like, whenever I made any money from music or art, I went, well, I'll say one thing. The early days, I wasn't filling out a single thing, and it was whatever. Well, but he's doing it, like, the right way.
Trying to pay the rent.
Yeah. Even when I was making little money, I wasn't exactly... It took me until my older years to be like, it turns out that you can pay even less taxes than not paying your taxes by doing your taxes in the fucking... shady guy way that's actually legal.
Right.
If you start acting like a rich guy or a corporation, even if you're not rich, it turns out that works. It's just that like it's not that you can't do it. You can do it too, but it's not like they teach you in school or anything where I'm like writing off crypto losses so I get more back in taxes than I even spent on buying them in the first place, even though I didn't make any money. It's like, dude, like you could get away with just so much shit and there's nothing wrong with it. If you have a reputable guy, it's like it's up to him to go yes or no on stuff, and he's like, yep, here you go.
Yep.
It's crazy. So I'm like, I just hope that is what I hope Matt's running it in that in that way because he deserves every dime that he makes. And and he's my neighbor. He's in the same, technically within Lynn Bohannon. And there's another, I remember I talked to you, there's a gal that used to work for Wally, for legit, who lives here and now joined Amanda? Whatever her name is. She's like an HR kind of person.
Okay, yep.
Friends with Chris and Nikki. But she joined the neighborhood association. She was like, I live here and I want to get involved. And then she came up to me, and she's younger than I am. I don't know. I don't know exactly. Maybe early 30s, but like.
She's friends with Amanda?
Is Amanda, I think.
She is Amanda.
I keep forgetting the name.
Brown hair.
Yeah, like kind of a lot of like.
Curly stuff.
Little bit, yeah. Nose ring, but that's everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was like.
She's cool.
She is cool. She was like, I want to get involved. And I know how to do all this stuff. And like she was like excited about the most boring parts of the meeting. So I'm like, well, you'll fit in good because this is what this is like. But then she was like, you look and sound familiar. And I was like, oh no. Well, I've done a lot of music. She's like, are you did I get are you like a realtor that I got a mailing from? I'm like, no, I don't have my real estate license. And I was like, I used to be in all these bands. And she was like, local. And I'm like, well, T-shirts and Hot Topics in other states, CD sales in other countries, local, I guess, but yeah, I live here. And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I didn't want to name any names. So I'm like, I just want this to come around organically. But I was like, well, I work for a company called Minnesota Legit. She goes, I used to work for Wally. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, I know Chris and Nikki. I know I officiated Neil and whoever's wedding, and she showed me pictures. Sorry, this is a little inside baseball. Chris Massimore, ex, you if you're listening to this, you know who that is, and his wife, friend of theirs, and she used to, I guess, work where I worked or whatever. The funny story that I wanted to tell you, and it's a relatable work story, an easy one to tell on the air, is that she was like, oh my god, like, here, let's take a picture. I'm going to send it to Wally. And I'm like, yeah, he wants to see my goddamn face one more time before bed. Because this was like at like 8:45 at night when the meeting was wrapping up.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's gonna think we're conspiring against him or whatever. And she's like, no, I'm going to send him the picture and whatever. And I talked to her for a little bit. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Well, yeah, join. You're enthusiastic and you actually like probably like know how to pull some levers here. So it's like me and a bunch of people that used to be civil rights attorneys and old ladies and stuff, and like people that know a lot of things, but maybe not like people management things the way she probably does. So I'm like, okay, you might be exactly who needs to be helping out with this. Also, like lives within blocks of here. But it was actually funny because the next morning I talked to Wally about it. He's like, well, yeah, no, she worked. What was the picture? And I was like, she joined I'm on the neighborhood council board or whatever, and like. She wanted to join. She lives in my neighborhood. And he's like, yeah, well, I even used to live over north for a little bit, or someone he knew did. I don't know. But I was like, yeah, I told her, like, don't send that picture. He's going to think that we're conspiring against you in the night. And it actually hit so close. I got like a look down and laugh from him. Like, ooh, that's a big laugh from that guy. He was like, because he knows that he was thinking that.
Totally,
that's why it's funny.
Like, damn, they're on to me.
He's like, oh, which only tells him they are conspiring against him because it's like they're hiding in plain sight. Like that's. We had a fight. He told me that she was cool and whatever, and like, oh, that's good.
She was
whatever.
And she was cool.
I went and mentioned it to Chris too, because I'm like, hey, I met somebody, and yeah, she's gonna like. We voted to have her join the board because we're like shy a few people or whatever. So we'll have a little bit of a coming all the way back around to the voting thing.
She's good shit,
and the work thing and everything.
She'll do well.
I think there's some sort of good alignment in the universe where I wound up with a cool car. Things at work are progressing in ways that are interesting, and that election got won by who I liked. We have a new person helping out that's connected to you and Chris, and
I mean, things are full circle, baby.
It's a small world, and that is, I think, a net positive. Honestly, I think it's. Yoda was right. Never always to the horizon you are looking. Never your mind on where you are, what you are doing. Stick to your thing, because if you start going on tour, you end up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, playing a show in a house with a bunch of skinheads, and that's no good. Don't do that. That's what ambition gets you. It just gets you almost getting murdered in a skinhead house. Yeah, you end up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and you're like, oh, it's all just going to be like that 70s show. And it's like, well, parts of it, but not.
Just lands you in Kenosha.
It really does. But we talked about no glass at all, but that's fine because we can do that next time.
Yep.
What we have to talk about now is this awful book called Dear Asshole.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah.
So the last time I was here, it was the laundromat.
Oh.
It was the dickhead at the laundromat, or you left your shit in the dryer and all that stuff, which... I don't know. I don't know.
That one.
Hopefully this one's a little better.
I don't expect. There's no way to leave notes. By the way,
it was very Karen-y.
We got a new. God, what was it? We got like Peacock, one of them. We've like collected. It's like the Infinity Stones. Like we're getting all these streaming services, but it's like, oh, nice. One of our in-laws let us use one of our like we're paying for a couple of them. Like Netflix was just like, oh, I've been a T-Mobile customer so long that it cost me like $1 a month.
Yeah, you got a year
or something or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like forever, but for like no money, for like $1 or $2. It's awesome. And so it's like we have all of the streaming stones are all lining up. But there was this reminds me of this book. I think it's Peacock. It might be Max. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but it's got a run of these awful, and by awful I mean great, AMC shows that are all like collections of cell phone videos. It's like the laziest thing in the world. It's reality stuff. It's like the house that cheaters built, except for it's just cell phone footage with professional voiceover and music, and it's like
explaining what's happening.
Customer wars, neighborhood wars, and car wars.
Oh my god!
And it's all Walmart freakouts.
Yeah, that's endless video.
Just fucking neighborhood things like and road rage, and all by a guy who he tonally is like the Cheaters. Remember that show? It was like just great fucking who over pontificates a little bit. You know, like on Cheaters, it'd be like, you know, some fat guy and some fat bitch he's cheating on his fat wife with are going to Denny's. Like, they later meet up and they decide to go to a local eatery and treat themselves to a feast. Like, it's Denny's, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, a feast.
They treat themselves to a feast and it's like, it's blurred out, but it's fucking Denny's.
Yeah, of Denny's steak and eggs.
And I love it. They do it on this thing too. They're just kind of like a local customer took umbrage with a policy at this big box and it's just obviously Walmart. It's always Walmart. It's just blurred out, and it's just like you can see the little Walmart asterisk leaking out of the side of the blur thing.
Big box.
Yeah. And it's like they took umbrage with a policy, which is like the self-checkout machine is racist, and someone gets punched in the face. It's awesome. I was like, I was making me mad and happy at the same time. It was a wonderful thing, and I was making Alexis watch because she gets amped up too, but she likes those better. She hates hoarders. I make her watch that. She's like,
"Ooh, that's a tough one to watch.
Why don't you just kill these people?"
That's a tough watch.
Yeah. But then we start cleaning the house, so it's like kind of, you know, we don't. There, but for the grace of God, go we.
Yes, exactly.
And that sort of ties into this book, Dear Asshole, a little. And this particular entry is Dear Asshole Litterer. And
so you know, a writer.
Oh, like a litterer, or a litter of puppies. No, it's someone that throws crap on the ground, like you're littering.
Ah,
you know, okay. Littering and smoking the reefer.
Yeah.
Candy bars. Yeah. So this is about throwing garbage around. Now, again, this book is classist and occasionally racist, but sometimes it's like, it isn't funny or good. Take that right out of your mind. But at least it's relatable here and again randomly. And it's like, yeah, don't litter. Litter is bad for the environment. That's, you know. So they're going to leave a note in the form of a piece of paper. They're just going to throw out their car window. By the way, yes, what is this going to solve?
They're going to throw it at you.
Just going to make it worse. This is the litterer. Dear Asshole Litterer, the world outside of your car window is not a garbage receptacle. Fucking hilarious, guys. As usual, knocked it out of the park.
Killing it.
Someone goes, the world outside of your car window is not a garbage receptacle. Should we workshop this at all? No. Okay, you can't just throw your beer bottles. And by the way, I love, just people who drive around throwing beer cans out the window. That is cool. because it means you're drinking them, and it means it's the 70s, and that's where we all belong.
Yes.
Beer bottles and fast food bags.
It's the last time this person saw that happen.
You definitely. Fast food bags out there and expect someone else to clean up after you, you slob. This misses a certain part of the human condition. I don't know that people that are throwing garbage out their windows while they're driving are expecting someone else to clean up. The Karen-y tone of this just permeates. It's like, I'm going to throw this beer bottle out my window, and I know someone will pick it up.
Yeah, only because I know.
Yeah, not that like pick it up. I don't care that the street is just littered with beer cans and
this
dead
is
squirrels.
Where I need to throw this
and garbage. Yeah, I'm just
going to pick it up.
I'm just doing this. I don't care what happens at all. And it's like the fact that you don't have. Like, you don't give a fuck what happens outside of your car, even though when you get out of your car, you're going to live in a world of garbage you created. See, fun. Again, you can workshop funnier lines without even paying attention. Meredith and I once made one that I wrote notes on it. It was actually funny, and it took like 3 minutes. Yeah. And I just can't with this book. But anyway, what's your issue? Ooh, scathing. There are garbage cans all over the place. Those rare and elusive cylindrical devices that can be found on almost every street corner. And again, I still don't know if this was written by someone that hates women and is making fun of them, and that's what they just picked a fake name, or someone that understands that there are definitely women out there that talk like this, and like. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make a joke where I'm like, where I'm the asshole, where it's like, this was either written by someone that hates women or someone that really understands women. Or I don't know how to make that in. It's probably hacky.
I often think about if this is a man. Is it a woman? You've said the authors are women.
2 women, apparently,
2 women.
with the same last name.
So it's just like, okay, are they married? Are they
sisters?
Family?
I think they're sisters, and I think their dad owns a publishing company. That's the best theory we've gotten. Chris's idea that it was written by AI was so great until I found out it came out in 2011. I thought it was new.
You know what? I'm going to throw mine in here. I think this is written by frickin' geezers, dude.
Oh, yeah. Like, old people?
Either that or just maybe a single child with very old parents.
Maybe.
Or just like this.
This might have been written by a committee of like out of touch people who were like older than you and me back when it was written. You know what I mean? Like who are like in their 60s or some shit.
Right. So this is, you said 2011?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though like my dad's in his like mid to late 60s and he's way funnier than this. Like my dad be like, dude, you're getting close to retirement. Here, I will help you write a better version of this book just for a way for us to hang out, like just
yeah.
I mean, he's a funny guy. He can drink me under the table still, which is, boy, that's something. But like, yeah, like, because my parents got me this book. That's why the reference connects. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
This is no, don't be sorry. Meredith yells at me for taking too long to do this, and then I just go longer. But when she gets back from
Shout out Meredith.
Yeah, she is working for the IDF right now, trying to keep Israel strong. No, she's just been busy. She's not. She's not actually a militant undercover person working for the Mossad.
During the week, anyway.
Yeah, he said to throw them off the trail. Well, I drive a spy car now, so I gotta. It's not the size; it's what you do with it. Oh, I'm making hints as to the car I bought. So the cylindrical devices on almost every street corner. Okay, start using them because if I see one more combos wrapper, I wonder if they kicked in some money, floating whimsically across my lawn, someone will lose an eye. So you're going to stab someone in the eye if you see a combos wrapper. Combos, get at me about, I will do ads for you on this podcast. Oh, the sign off is bite me, which is just random. P.S. You better dispose of this letter properly, asshole. Now, see, there's the thing.
Okay, here we are.
This is like a courtroom thing. Like the reason you're giving this person this chunk of this tear out book, that's the thing. It's got perforated edges. So you can be like, ooh,
you can leave this.
Here's this is for you. You have to read that, and you're just gonna be like, oh, and they're like, it says that I shouldn't litter, but then also I definitely shouldn't use this to litter. Oh, and she's just like, ah, and then she said someone will lose an eye. I assume it's her having a brain aneurysm and her eye just like flies out. I forgot to talk about this. I think I'm going to play us out. All right, I usually say something kind of funny at the end. But instead, I'm just going to... Well, if that didn't get you to turn it off, nothing will.
The Reverend John Wheeler podcast takes zero responsibility for the words, actions, or ideas of its host, guests, or listeners. Though the people on the screen may at times be speaking directly to you and may occasionally give you direct calls to action, neither Reverend John nor the Alchemical Cocktail Lounge are under any moral or legal obligation to answer for the potentially disastrous repercussions that may arise if you are stupid enough to actually follow the orders of a raving lunatic. Think for yourself and do whatever you want, because you're on your own. If anyone ever tries to sue this podcast, black SUVs will converge on your location in the darkness of night and you will never be seen again. Remember to like and subscribe.